everyone, this is Steve Bishop from ProgrammingMadeEasy.com and of course Gartman Technical Services at GartmanTechnical.com. So today I've got a really good video for you guys. It's going to be an advanced video on ASP.NET Core MVC, as well as we're going to talk about some Agile stuff, okay? Some architectural and Agile stuff. So if you guys haven't already watched it, a couple of months ago, I was at an event called MiniCon where I did a presentation on the Agile process or Agile manifesto. And then in the second half of that video, I went over kind of a process that is Agile. Now, if you guys haven't watched that video, I really highly recommend that you do so. I know it's about an hour and a half long. It's kind of long, but it's really worth watching. Understanding Agile, you're going to encounter it a lot in your environment. If you're going to go to various different companies, you might run into a company that does Agile. So you're going to want to understand Agile. But I want to focus on the second half of that video where I started getting into the planning process for building your applications and communicating with your customers. And that started out with features. Features were the first class citizen of planning your application. You ask your customer, okay, what are the features that you want built into this application? And then each one of the features you break down. You say, okay, what are the different users? How are these different users going to use that feature? And those are called user stories. And then once you have the user story and you have the feature, you have the feature and you have the user stories that go along with the feature, then you can actually start to plan out the different components you're going to need to create in order to make that feature, as well as, the tasks, the various tasks that you're going to need to plan out in order to build those components. And then you can start to evaluate how much time it's going to take to do all those things. But the whole thrust of this is the features were the first top level item in the way that we were planning our application. Okay. So the problem is when you try to translate that plan where features are the top level citizen over to your MVC application, where the top level first class citizens are models, views, and controllers. How do you bridge that gap? How do you make it so that your planning process matches what you have actually in production or in your code base? So this kind of problem, this disconnect, there's actually more problems that arise from the MVC architecture than even just that mapping of the two things, mapping the planning to the architecture. There's actually some structural issues with MVC that I kind of want to hit on today in this video. And for those of you guys who watched my interview with Uncle Bob, Robert C. Martin, I asked him this question, and you guys might have caught this, and he kind of laughed at it, understandably. I asked him, is the modern day MVC architecture, modern day MVC plan, is it an anti-pattern? And he kind of, he laughed at it. He said, no, he doesn't really think so. And I'm kind of surprised that he didn't buy into this a bit more, because he's always talking about how MVC does not scream the architecture of the application. And so I'm kind of surprised he didn't say, yeah, it was, or, it's getting close to. There are some serious issues with the MVC as an architectural pattern, and that's what I'm going to address here today. And I'm going to show you how to bridge that gap between, planning your process in Agile as a feature top level item and putting that and building that in your MVC application. But I'm not going to be throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. I'm not saying that MVC is not good, okay? The separation of concerns that you get with MVC is very good. It's just that we need to remove it from being the first class citizen, okay? So that's what we're going to do. The first thing that I want to do is I want to show you guys a typical MVC application, a typical architecture, and this is what comes straight out of the box when you first build an ASP.NET Core MVC application. The blank MVC application with no, there's no identity, there's no ASP.NET Core identity, there's no entity framework in this. This is just strictly the home controller with the various views under the home folder. And then we have our shared layouts, our layout, our validation scripts partial, our error view, view imports, and the view start page. So these are our views underneath our views folder, and we have the one home controller. And this all comes right out of the box when you first build an ASP.NET Core MVC application. Okay, so let me start off by adding one other folder here, just so that you guys, we have a certain level of completion here. And that would be, you would typically have a models folder as well, which contains the data models. So we have our models, views, controllers. So the first class citizen, the first top level folder structure is models, views, controllers. Now, let me ask you this question. If your client came to you and said, I would like to change the email address that appears on the About page. Okay, so they want to change the email address that appears on the About page. Now, you and I know through habit that a beginning application, a default application, the location of where that About page shows up is under Views folder, Home, About, and the action can be found under the Home controller where there is the About action here. So let me ask you this. Why? What does the About action have to do with the home page? I mean, doesn't that strike anybody else as odd? What does the About page have to do with the home page? Can anybody answer that? I don't understand that. What do these two things have in common? I don't get it. It don't make any sense to me why the About page, how is it related to the home page? Other than it's a link, I can click on a link that's on the home page to go to the About page. That's it. That's the only thing that I know of that is related between the two things. So that doesn't really make much sense organizationally right from the get-go. And then also I want to point out this. If you're familiar with the solid principles, the first one of the solid principles is single responsibility principle. How many responsibilities does this home controller have? Well, there's one there, there's two there, there's three there, and there's four there. And then you could make an argument that, setting the message index on the view data collection, maybe that's also another concern or a responsibility. So there could be a total of 6 responsibilities that this home controller has. And that violates the single responsibility principle right out of the box. This is the default template that Microsoft gives you. They're already setting you up for failure. Okay? I'm just going to point this out. I'm just saying, I know some of you guys look at this going, he's making a big deal out of nothing. But when you see the change that I'm going to make here, you're going to understand how much nicer and cleaner your applications could look and be built, and to find what it is you're looking for. So, okay, your customer comes to you, says, I want to change the email address on the About page. So I have to know, just going back here, I have to know ahead of time that either I'm going to go to the home controller to go change it, or I'm going to need to go to the views folder, home folder, and there's my About page. I have to know those things ahead of time. And the structure of my application, from controllers all the way down to the views and the subfolder of home, doesn't help me find that About page in any way. I can't find it, okay? So here's what I'm going to do in order to fix this. I'm going to create a new folder, and this is going to be called Features. And guess what I'm going to be putting inside of my Features folder? I'm going to be separating out my application according to their features. And so the first one I'm going to add here is, since my customer's asking me about this, I'm going to go ahead and do the About page. Okay, so that's one feature of the application, is the About page. Another feature of the application would be the home page. So let's go ahead and add that as a folder. So we're going to do home page. And then there were some other ones here. If we look at the home controller here, we have the home page, we have the About page, we also have a contact page. So let's go ahead and add that as a folder. And then we also have an error page. So we'll add that as a feature because error pages are a feature of the application. Okay, so now we've got each one of these pages is broken down into their by their features, right? And we have a subfolder underneath the features folder that is basically organizing our, an organizational unit here for where we can put our code that relates to that particular feature. So let's start off with the About page. Okay, I'm going to add a new folder here because now I can start breaking it down by the components. Each feature has the components, just like when I was talking to my customer to get the scope of work, right? I was getting features, and then of those features, in order for me to implement the user story of that feature, I now can think about the different components that are required to make that feature. So now here's where I can do my models, my views, and my controllers. So I'm still keeping the separation of concerns, right? I still have my separation of concerns. There's my models, views, and controllers, my MVC architecture. It's just that they're underneath this About page feature, which has a top level of features, okay? So that's what I'm going to do for that. I need to do the same thing here for my contact page, but I'm just going to add a few things. I don't really have any models in this application, so I'm really only going to need to add the controllers and the views subfolder here. So add that. Same thing for my error page. I really only need the controller, and I'll show you why in just a moment here. But the error page really only needs a controller. And then the home page will add, oops, cancel that, wrong thing. Add new folder, and this is going to have some controllers and some views. Again, none of these really have models. They could have models, but they don't in our instance. So I'm keeping that MVC architecture. I'm just moving it down a few levels, right? It's not the first class citizen anymore. It's kind of it's underneath the features. These make up our components of the features. All right. So now I need to move some of this stuff around. So I'm going to start out with my About page. I have my controller here that is my home controller, my original home controller, right? And this is where the About action is actually being called. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a new controller here to my, under About page controllers. I'm going to add a class called About page controller. Okay, and this needs to inherit from controllers. Or a controller, excuse me, not controllers. We need to use the ASP.NET Core MVC. And now we can move for our About page. We're going to just cut out this About action and move it to here and save that. And did this not bring in the using I needed? There it goes. Okay. All right, so now we have our About action underneath our About page controller. Okay, now let's go back to the home controller. What's some of the other ones? Well, we've got the index action, which is for our home page. So let's add a controller to our home page. So home page feature, we're going to the controllers components folder. And we're going to add a new class, which is going to be the controller class. So this would be the home page controller. Okay. All right, this inherits from controller. Bring in the using statement, and now we can just cut this out of here, move it inside of the home controller. Bada bing, bada boom, Bob's your uncle. let's remove and sort some of these. I like to clean up my class usings. Same with the about page. Let's do that too. Remove and sort. Save that. Okay, what are some of the other ones that are in this home controller? We have the contact, so let's go ahead and create a contact controller. Add new class. Contact page. Oops. Controller. All right, and we can, once that gets done building, let's bring in this. We need to inherit from controller. Using, okay, paste that contact action. Let's remove and sort. Okay, so that's our controller for our contact page. We have the one for our about page. And now all that we have left is the error action. So let's go ahead and bring that out too. So we're going to go to the error page, controllers. Let's add a new class. The class is the error page controller, which inherits from controller. Bring in the using statement and paste in our call to the error action and remove and sort. Oops, what I hit. Okay, there we go. So save that. Save all of these new controllers that we created. And now our home controller is done, right? We don't need it anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and remove home controller from our controllers folder. All right. So now that I don't even have any controllers in the controllers folder, I'm just going to delete that too. So we'll delete it. I also don't have any models, any models in this application. They've theoretically all been moved underneath the features, so I can go ahead and get rid of that. Now the only thing I have left are all of these views, okay? So I'm gonna move these views now. So under home, see the first thing that we had, let's get rid of, here, let's do this. Okay, so the first one that we have is the about page, so I'm gonna cut this out. I'm going to go to my about page feature. There's my views components for my about page. Let's go ahead and paste that. So we've moved about. Now let's do contact. So I'm going to cut this out. Go to my contact page. And there's my views folder. So I'll add the page there, or I'll move the page to there. And then the last view I have is for the home page, which is called index. I'm going to cut that out of there. And I'm going to go to my home page feature. And I'm going to move this index view to the views folder underneath my home page feature. Okay, so now that I've moved my views that were in my home, that were related to my home controller, but now my home controller is gone, and now I moved all the views out of the home subfolder from my views, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I don't need it anymore. And then finally, we had the error page, right? And the error page, I just had the controllers, and that's because the error page is actually a shared view, okay? It's something that's a cross-cutting concern as far as how the views go. So what I'm going to do is, if there is something that is necessary for all of the features, right? All of my features could potentially go to the error page. Well, that means I'm actually going to move this into its own folder called shared. So these are shared. This shared folder is essentially features of the application. And that feature is a shared location that all of my other features might go to, okay, might need some information from. And within that shared folder, there might be more things than just views here, understand. There might be, different classes, maybe some services or something like that that I might want to do. And actually services I might move into its own set of features. But, and each one of those services actually should be a feature itself, not really in a shared folder. But the point is that you might have more in here than just views that need to be cross-shared. So I'm going to add a new folder, under my shared folder called views. So these are shared views amongst all of the features. And that includes the layout, which comes with also the validation scripts partial. And then the error page is also something that could be shared amongst all the other views. So I'm going to move that into my views folder, my views components folder underneath my shared feature. Okay, so we're just going to give Visual Studio a moment to do that. And now my shared folder is no longer necessary. I can delete it. Now the last thing that we have under here in views, and this is unfortunately a convention of MVC that we cannot get around, I need to put the view imports and the view start in the top level features folder. It's just the way it is. I wish that there was some way to get around this, and maybe there is that I just simply don't know. But for right now, we're just going to do that. Now my views folder is no longer got anything in it because everything's been moved into underneath the features folder. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete the views. Okay. So now the only folder that I have here is the features folder. That's the same top level organization to how I planned the application. Now let's take the situation that I just spoke about where the client comes to you and says, I would like to make a change to the about page. And now I want you to change the email address that is on that about page. Now, how would we get to that? We know that it's the about page. That's the feature. From the user's perspective, they are telling us they want the about page to be changed. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the features folder. Where do we need to find the information about the about page? Oh, look at that. There's the about page. Okay, let's drill down to that. Okay, where might I need to go make that change? Well, there's a few different components underneath here that might be something that relate to that. And sure enough, there's my about page controller and about. And if you're thinking, there is the possibility here. You may not even need these controllers, models, and folders views. You could theoretically just move these right up into the about page feature. Okay, because there's only these two classes that make this up. So do I really even need the controllers, models, and views? Is that even something that I need to do? And if you think about it, in this particular case, for this specific feature, probably not. I could just have the two files right there be my, be right there underneath the about page feature, because those are really the only two things that are there. Now I could, if I wanted to, like I said, break it down into what I did before, where I had the model view controller. That is definitely helpful for some people, but boy, if that customer comes and asks me, I want to make a change to the email address for the about page, bam, there it is. There's your about page, and there's the about page controller, right? There's one or two places you can have to go make that change. And if we look at the about page controller, we're not setting any data in here. And there isn't an email address even in here. I'm just going to go ahead and add one here. We'll do P, and we'll do, I don't know, my email at someplace.com. All right. Okay. So I don't need that. Don't show me that again. Okay. So there is an email address that I went ahead and added. So I've made my change, and it was easy to find the location to go make that change. Now, how does this now work? Is it going to work? Now that we've made all these significant changes, is the application even going to run? So let's go ahead and do debug, start without debugging. And what you're going to find is that no, we moved too much stuff around. The MVC convention over configuration means that when we shifted everything around, we made all these changes, unfortunately, that convention is no longer applied to the structure of our application. So we need to fix this. We need to do something in order to make it so that our views work. And we'll see that when this opens up, we have a 404 error. And we're just going to give it a second here because I know my computer takes a little bit of time to load all this stuff up. But it should spit out a 404. There we go. Okay, so it can't find the page, okay, because it can't find home index. So there's a few things that we need to do, and that should have probably been an obvious problem, right? Because back here, if we look at our startup file, the default that comes out of the box is that the home controller gets called and the index action on that home controller gets called. But we changed this from, we changed the controller name from home to home page. So let's go ahead and fix that, home page, okay? And we still have the index action. So does that solve the problem? Well, let's run it again and see what happens. And we're just going to wait a little bit. I'm just going to sit here and stare. Okay, we got a problem here. The view index was not found. The following locations were searched: view homepage index, views searched or shared index. So you can see the Razor view engine is still looking in the old folder structure. It's still looking for that views folder, homepage, and the shared folder under views. And it can't find it, right? It's not able to locate it. It was, however, able to locate the home page controller. Okay, it found that. It just wasn't able to find, when we called view, it wasn't able to find that index page that belongs to the home page controller. So we need to fix this. And the way that we fix this is, let's go back to our start page. Or I'm sorry, our startup class. And under our configure services method, we can make some changes here to the Razor view engine so that it looks in some new places. So we're going to do services, and I got my little cheat sheet over here, so I'm going to look over this a little bit because it's just kind of helped me remind me of things. We're going to do services configure, and then we're going to do we're going to be changing the Razor view engine options. Okay, and I'm going to need to bring in the using statement here, but that belongs to Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.MVC.Razor. Okay, and on this configuration, we're going to go to the options. So options, this is a Lambda expression. We're going to say on the options, you'll notice that there are some various properties. One of those properties is the view location expanders. Okay, so we can expand how the Razor view engine goes to try to find views. We're going to change this to, we're going to add a new what? We're going to add a new something. Well, it turns out that what we need is a new iView location expander. Okay, a new class that implements iView location expander. So we need to build a class that implements this. So I'm going to copy this. And let's go build that class. Now, that class itself is not a feature. So perhaps you would put this under infrastructure. Perhaps you'd put it under shared. Maybe you'd, like I said, maybe you have an infrastructure folder that helps define some of these things. I'm just going to put it here at the top level, though, because it's not that important about where it's located. But I'm going to call this feature view location expander. I'm going to give Visual Studio just a moment here to think about that. And now it needs to implement that iView location expander. Okay, so we need to bring in the using statement of that. I'm going to add that using, and then we're going to implement the interface. Okay, now there are two methods that are on this. This populate values I'm not going to be concerned about with. In fact, I'm just going to get rid of this throw not implemented exception. I'm going to get rid of that because it's fine. It's not supposed to return anything. And then what about this? So expand view locations. This is the method that we actually want to make some changes to. So what we're going to do is the expand view locations is requiring some sort of enumerable string. And this string is very similar. This enumeration of strings is very similar to what we have back here in our startup class for our routing templates. That is, we have some sort of interpolation inside of a string that is kind of saying what the location of something is. So in the URL, this is what it looks like, right? And we're interpolating the controller here and the action here. We're going to do a very similar thing here with the strings that we put in our IEnumerable. Now in IEnumerable, we can just simply return a list of string. And I should make this a new list of string. And I'm just gonna set the values right here. So the first one, this is gonna be a list of strings. So the first one is gonna be, now where is the file location in our application, right? So that's essentially what we're doing, is we're telling the Razor View Engine a string to help it find where the location of our views are. Okay, so I'm just going to expand out here features, and let's just go with the home page for right now as an example. The Razor View Engine is going to have to first start with the features folder. So we're going to do /features. And then the second thing that it's going to look for is it's going to need to know the controller name. Okay, now when we type in something like this, home page index, what happens is that the parser for the Razor View Engine takes the index, which is the action, and it stores it in the 0 parameter. Okay, so it's going to basically be 0 indexed. And then the home page, this is the controller name, that is the number 1 index. So it's 0, then 1. Okay. If I had a third one in here, like let's just say I had like members, then this would be the second, index 2. So we have index 0, index 1, and index 2 as far as the parameters that are basically being passed into this string. Okay, so we can use that now. So we know that the based upon that information, we know that home page is the number 1 index. So I'm going to interpolate. I don't really know how to say that word very well. 1, right? Because it's the feature name. That's essentially what it is it's the feature name, right? That's going to point to the home page. And again, home page, that's number 1. Okay. Let me just get rid of that members just so we don't confuse anybody. So home page is 1, index is 0. So now let's go back here. So we know that features, we're going to, in order for the Razor View Engine to find the home page, or index view, it's going to need to go to features. Then it's going to need to do home page. Then it's going to need to go to the views folder. So we'll go to the views folder. And then behind, underneath that will be the index action. And that was 0. Okay, so that is the first one that helps point this at that location. But there's another string that we need to add to this. And that's because, don't forget, we also have in here our shared folder with our shared views. Okay, so these are also some views that the Razor Engine will need to be able to find. So let's add that as a string. We're going to do another string here. And this is going to be \features. Okay, because again, we're starting out underneath the features folder. And we want to go to the shared folder. And then under the shared folder, there is a views folder. And then the file name that it's looking for, or the view name that it's looking for, is going to be 0, because that's going to be passed in here. So there we go. All right, and then we're going to do .cshtml and cshtml here. Okay, so now we have a way for the Razor View Engine to find our CSHTML files. Okay, I think we're good with that. I think everybody can follow along with that. If you have any questions, again, comments in the bottom of this video, post your comments and questions. So we've got this all set up. I'm going to go ahead and remove and sort just because I like to do that to clean up my classes. And that's all that's in here. And you know what? Something else I even like to do is I like to do, for one single line of code, I'm going to do this just because I like this arrow syntax. Okay, or expression bodied members as they call it in C#. Okay, so that's essentially a function. It is the expand view locations function. It takes those two parameters and it spits out this list of view locations. Okay, so there is what we're looking for. Now, let's save this. Now, just in case those of you guys who are wondering, this IEnumerable of view locations, this would be what already exists. And we're essentially, you would want to append this. I'm creating a new list because I'm only going to allow the Razor View Engine to find these locations that I specify. But if you just wanted to actually add it, these would be the default view locations that already come in with the, if you still wanted to maintain the views folder, then you would have these view locations would be basically a set of these kinds of strings coming in, and you could just add to that list of view locations, okay? But I'm actually replacing it as a brand new list that only gives those two, okay? I hope you guys follow along with that. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so there we have our new view locations that we're allowing the Razor View Engine to go find our views. And now let's go ahead and save this, and I'm going to go ahead and just build this just to make sure that I didn't fat finger anything. And it looks like we're good. Maybe, no, it's still trying to do it. My Visual Studio 2017, I don't know if you guys have encountered this at all, but mine tends to have some problems running slow. And it might have to do with other things that I've got running in the background, but I have definitely seen a decrease in the way that Visual Studio 2017 runs. Maybe my computer's just not fast enough for it. Anyway, so we rebuilt all fine. We're good there. So I'm going to go ahead and do, oh, are we still running? Oh yeah, we're still rebuilding all. Visual Studio. Oh, it found a problem. Good thing I did that. Where did we run into a problem? Oh, that's right. I now need to add my new class, right? I just created this feature view location expander. I actually need to add that view location expander. So it's a new feature view location expander. All right. Okay, so now it looks like all of our errors went away. One other thing I just realized that I'm going to need to do here is for the exception handler. Remember we changed the error location to underneath the features. Now it's under error page. So the name of the controller is error page, and on the error page, we still have the error action, right? But I need to fix this here in my startup class so that it points to the new error page. Okay, that's just something I need to fix there while I'm at it. Okay, I think we are good to go. Let's go ahead and save this, and let's go ahead and debug. Start without debugging. And let's see if the home page index view appears. Drum roll, please. Maybe I'll just stare at the camera again and wait. Let's just do staring. Awkward silence. Okay, come on. Build already. Let's go. Let's go. I don't really care. Come on. Come on, build. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I'm bored. Let's go. Come on. There we go. It built. Yay. Okay, now it's opening. Sometimes I hate how slow Visual Studio is. I might go back to Visual Studio 2015 just because it seemed to be running a little bit faster than this. Come on, come on. Find everything. Let's go. Come on. Be good. Do it the right way. Yes! Lo and behold, we have working pages. There's probably a few of these that don't work though, right? Like the home. Well, the home works, right? Nope. Okay. I probably need to fix those views then, right? That's something I could probably, I don't know if I want to waste your time. I'll do that right now just because I showed the wrong problem. That's a great point, actually. I have to go in here and I have to fix all this. And it's a good thing I'm doing this early enough in the application to fix some of these things. But obviously this link to home and about and contact, these are all wrong now. I need to fix those links. So where would I fix the link on my home page, right? I'm on my home page, index view. I need to go fix the link to point to my home page. Okay, so I'm going to go to my home page. That's the home page feature. I'm going to go look for the view. There it is right there. I need to go find it and fix it. I'm going to change it from, where are you pointing to? Where are you? Where are you? All these extra links that they put in here. I don't know why they do. Images, banner, default, images, banner, option, control, previous, next. Where is it? Oh, you know what? It's not in the home page. Ooh, it's actually on my layout page. Ooh, right? Because this is actually my layout, right? This is not my home page. This is my menu item, which is part of the layout. So let's fix that. And maybe that's something I might want to break up. Instead of putting my menus in my layout, again, I don't know why that's the default. I should probably do that somewhere else. So this just needs to be home page and about page and contact page. All right, save that. That's a good thing it is in my layout, I guess, because it's only in one place. Although I really would prefer that my menu is split up into its own like view component or something. Again, separation of concerns, that sort of thing. Now let's refresh this. And now home points to home. About points to about page about. Let's see if that works. It does not. Features about page views about. Why doesn't it find it? The view about was not found. About page views. Why doesn't it find it? About page, so features, oh, because I have it looking for views. Ah, good point, good point. I forgot about that. Notice that it's looking under features, about page views, right? I have this views folder that I assumed when I created the features. But remember, I moved the about page to directly underneath the feature folder. So I should probably add that to my view feature folder location expander. So I'm just gonna do this. Features, and it was the feature name, and there wasn't a views folder, it was just the CSHTML. Just like that, right? So that's entirely possible. I might have the view directly underneath the features folder, so, or the feature named folder, right? Okay. I might have to restart this, just because I made a change to the configuration that comes in our startup class. And I don't think that the startup class, I think if you make a change to something how the startup class works, then you obviously have to restart the application because it's part of the startup. So, okay. Now there is a way to change that through, I think the JSON files work, like if the application settings, if you make changes there, I think it detects it and works. I can't remember exactly. I should know more about this, shouldn't I? Anyway, so there's my About page. Let's open it up and boom, there it is. And look, my email at some place. So there we go. And contact view should probably also work. There's our contact information. Fantastic. So there you guys go. I hope that this video gives you guys some enlightenment. I like this arrangement, this organization of my application into the features, because this maps directly to how I ask my customers how they want their application to be built, right? And then when they tell me, when they communicate to me that there's a problem with one of those features, I just have to know the name of the feature to go find and fix it. The only complications I run into is where Microsoft's default template, like when they put the menu in the layout view, that's the only time that I actually run into a problem, right? Is when I'm trying to use the Microsoft default stuff. This organization of things is so much easier for you to find and fix things. Because if I need to go find the information about my contact page, I need to go fix one of the components about my contact page, I know right where to look. I know right where to go. And my users are going to be talking to me in terms of the features that they're using it. Hey, when I go to the contact page, this is what happens. Okay, so I need to go fix the section under the contact page. It might be any one of these components, but at least I now have a good folder structure that helps me find and identify exactly where that is. Whereas before, it was going to be a nightmare, right? And the organization just didn't really make a heck of a lot of sense. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Make sure that I know that I liked, let me know that you liked it. If you didn't like it, hit the thumbs down. Tell me, if you didn't like it, let me know. If you didn't like it though, and you are going to hit that thumbs down, please leave me a comment and tell me why. And please don't be rude about it. Just, I have my feelings get hurt. They really do. I'm sensitive. So just, be nice, be gentle, be kind, but let me know what's wrong. Let me know when I'm a total idiot. Okay. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down in the comment section below this video. Until the next video, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye. I'd like to give special thanks to James McCoy, whose kind and generous donations have made this video possible. If you would also like to contribute, please visit us on patreon.com/programmingmadeeasy.